Hey y'all, this is Vinyl. In today's episode, we're going to look at two giant vintage vinyls, and we're going to compare the Bullmark Giant Godzilla from 1970 and the 1979 Popy Large Godzilla. The reason why I want to compare these is some people might be looking for their next item that they want to purchase, or they want to get into vintage vinyl and they don't know which one to go for. Just to start off by telling you guys the price points. So for a vintage 1970 Bullmark Giant, you're probably going to be paying around anything from like $1,200 to $1,500. I've seen some people get really good deals for maybe about $800, $750, but it really depends on the condition. Especially if you want to factor in if it comes complete with the tower, you're definitely looking at least $1,200. Whereas the Popy Godzilla is a little bit more affordable. You can find one in good condition from around $500 to $650, and it ranges below there. I was actually lucky enough to find mine for only $350, and it came in really good condition. There's definitely deals out there, so I want to show you guys the differences of the molds, the overall sizes, and what to expect when you're picking up these vintage items. I hope you enjoy this video, and make sure to stay tuned to the end of the video. I'm going to show you guys another giant in my collection that's worth watching. Let's get into it. Alright y'all, let's get started with this Bullmark Godzilla. As you can tell, the overall scheme is pretty earthy with some brown, some green, some kind of like dark yellow. There is a little bit of accent colors like the baby blue on the nails and the dorsal fins, but because of the condition, it's not as vibrant, and it's kind of hard to notice, but overall it's kind of your classic figure. Still love it. Moving on to the Popy. As you can tell, it's a lot more vibrant. They use red vinyl as the base, and they have this kind of dark green, almost black paint over it. The silver really pops on this one, and it makes it kind of give it that extra little flair. There's also some color details on the teeth and on the eyes, a little bit of yellow to make it pop. But overall, this figure does pop a little bit more when it comes to its overall presentation. Still a really cool figure. Not the same type of bulky size, and we're going to get into the measurements up next. As you guys can see, this Bullmark has a total length of about 10 inches. So if you're about to get a case, I would suggest it at least being at least 12 inches long. And in terms of height, this Bullmark is like about 12 inches, almost 13 inches. So if you're going to put this in a glass cabinet, I would definitely recommend something that's 12 by 14 inches tall. Moving on to the Popy. The Popy is slightly less, with an overall width of about 8 inches, maybe 9 with the hands. Its height is about 10 inches, almost 11, so definitely a lot smaller than your giant. Now to compare the mold. As you can see, for a 1970s toy, this was pretty good and really close to the Godzilla that we were seeing around that time. I think it's sculpted a lot better than the original Maro-san, which was inspired by the Aurora model kit. And this one actually looks more like the G-Man himself. And if we move on to 1979 with this Popy figure, you can definitely tell this is Godzilla. It has his face, it has that kind of nose with the nostrils that's very typical of Godzilla of that time. So I think overall, definitely the Popy was inspired by the Bullmark, but they perfected it with the Popy. Alright y'all, so now we're going to look at some of the details of the branding under the feet. The Bullmark obviously has that classic Bullmark logo that we come to love, and you can see the original vinyl color that's right under it as the paint rubs off. And if we look at the Popy, you can see those really classic footprints on the bottom of the feet, as well as the Popy logo and the Made in Japan logo right under it. Really nice details. I think in terms of details, the Popy would win it for me. Alright y'all, and this is a side-by-side comparison. So as we can see, the Bullmark is definitely bigger and more bulky, whereas the Popy is a little bit smaller. Overall, still a little chunky dude. Still a really cool figure. If I was to pick one, and I was on a budget, I would definitely go for the Popy. But if you want to get something that's classic, that's going to be part of your collection for a long time, I would definitely recommend going for the Bullmark. It has overall more girth, more size, and more presentation than the Popy figure itself. However, if you're in a budget, the Popy is still not a bad option. And just another close-up at the fins. As you can see, like I was referring to the original Maro-san mold, this 1970s Bullmark was definitely closer to what Godzilla looked like in the 70s, and you can see it reflected even more perfected with the Popy. And as a bonus round, I'm going to show you guys my giant King Ghidorah. I actually got this guy on Facebook Market for a great price, and I wanted to add him in this video since this is my only other giant figure. I was lucky to find him for only 500 bucks. This guy normally ranges between 800 to 1,500 depending on condition. Unfortunately, mine isn't in the best condition, but I still think it presents really well. As you can see, there's still a lot of nice shiny paint on the wings themselves, and I was actually able to find a little tower to go with it to make it look even more presentable. As you guys can see right here, let me show you guys some of the details of the height. So the overall height is basically 13 inches. I would say get something around 14 inches tall to make sure that it clears it. They're about almost 16 inches in length, maybe 15 will clear it, but I would say definitely get something around 16 inches in length to clear it perfectly. Like I said, my King Ghidorah is not in the best condition. Definitely some paint rub-off, some writing at the bottom, but it's awesome that it still has the original sticker with the Toho license for Godzilla. And a weird thing about it is that it came with like a burnt tip. It looks like somehow, some way the tip got burnt or bitten off, but I tried to sand it down to the best of my ability to make it look good. Overall, like I said, there is some paint rub off, but I think it looks really awesome, especially for the price that I got it for. Doesn't have the most amount of silver paint on the face and in the back of the neck, but it'll still do. Definitely an awesome piece, and I'm happy to have it in my collection. Alright y'all, and this is how they look all side by side. I wanted to show you guys the towers. So I believe the original Bullmarks came with it with a tower that looks more like this, where it's kind of cut out and it looks a lot more clean. I think later Bullmark toys that came with like blister packs, not blister packs, but like baggies and multiple figures came with these type of towers. That's what I've seen. So I don't think this tower originally came with these giant Godzillas, but it still looks really awesome right next to each other. Both of them are original and both of them are vintage. Alright y'all, hope you guys enjoyed that video. Unfortunately, I don't have too many giant Godzillas or Toho characters in my collection. I'm still looking for a vintage Jet Jaguar. I'm still looking for a vintage Baragon in the giant size. If you have any, please let me know. I'm constantly looking on Facebook, eBay, and Yahoo Auctions for those two items. They kind of range between 800 all the way to 1,500. So I appreciate you guys sticking around. I definitely want to continue to make more videos, so continue to show me some support. Thank you. We just reached 150 subscribers. The next goal is to get to 200. So I appreciate everybody's support and everybody that's been hanging in there, everybody that's been showing love. I want to give a special shout out to the homie Eddie Rodriguez. Thank you so much for always commenting on my videos, always liking them, always showing some love on Facebook. I appreciate you, bro, and I told you I was going to shout you out in the next video, so thanks again so much for coming through. And everybody else that's been subscribing, everybody else that's been commenting, I appreciate all the support. Until the next video, this is Vinyl Vinyl.